Hey friends, as we now come to the end of this series on the 7 last words of Christ, we come to the final saying of Jesus just before he breathes his last. You know, around the time that Jesus lived, there was a very common and widespread practice in Jewish homes where Jewish mothers would very commonly teach their young boys and girls a prayer. And this was a prayer that Jewish boys and girls would pray every night before they went to bed. And this prayer came from Psalm 31, verse 5. Just one verse, very simple, and it went like this. Into your hands I commit my spirit. And so because of how widespread this practice was, it's very likely and very easy to imagine Jesus' own mother, Mary, sitting down with little Jesus as he's falling asleep at night, and every night teaching him to pray this prayer. Into your hands I commit my spirit. And it's very easy to imagine Jesus growing older and on his own every night praying this prayer. Into your hands I commit my spirit. This now brings us to the end of Jesus' life, as he's hanging on the cross, about to breathe his last breath. And the question is, what is he going to say? He had every reason to curse God. In fact, I mean, from the perspective of some, it might have made sense for him to curse God. He had just quoted Psalm 22, describing his experience, saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? It would have been a very natural follow-up to say, well, God, in the same way that you have forsaken, that you have abandoned me, so now I am abandoning you. He could have, metaphorically speaking, given God the finger, right? But that's not what Jesus does. With his dying breath, Jesus says a prayer that clearly had been imprinted upon his soul. He recites a prayer that his mother very likely taught him when he was little, that very plausibly was a prayer that he prayed every night before falling asleep. And he actually adds something to it. With Jesus' dying breath, he says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. It's remarkable that these are Jesus' last words. And it's a beautiful picture of Jesus' unshakable, unwavering trust in the goodness of God, despite the fact that he was literally carrying the weight of the world's evil, the weight of the world's sin on himself, despite the fact that he was experiencing something he never had before, the forsakenness of God. And yet even in that moment, Jesus gave expression to this deep, deep commitment to the reality of the goodness of God. Jesus trusted God like a child trusts a parent. You know, as a parent, I have the privilege and responsibility every night of putting one of my 2 children to bed, and oftentimes as I'm watching any child, one of them, fall asleep, there's this moment where they pass from not sleeping to sleeping, and oftentimes what hits me in that moment is how utterly vulnerable these kids are, and how much they totally trust me as their parent. It's like there's something about a child that's peacefully falling asleep that is a reminder to a parent of the fact that, wow, like this kid believes that I am trustworthy. And they trust me. They believe deep down that I want good for them, that I will protect them, that they're safe with me. It's this incredible childlike trust, this faith in the inherent goodness of their parent. And it's a tremendous experience. And when I think about Jesus and these final words of his on the cross, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit, I think, wow, what an incredible reminder of the goodness of God. And what a beautiful invitation to us, to you and me, to remember that whatever it is we are going through, if we are followers of Jesus, then part of what that means is learning to trust the Father in the same way that Jesus did. Learning to trust that whatever it is we're experiencing, even if it feels like God has forsaken us, God is good. And he invites us like a loving parent to come to him as a small child and to learn what it means to be a daughter or a son, to learn what it means to trust him, to learn what it means to commit our spirit to him, and to be reminded that we are forgiven, to be reminded that we belong to him, and to be reminded that we are beloved. Because this is what we see when we look at the cross. We see this kind of God. We see a God to whom we can say, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit.